Welcome to Talent Pop Podcast, where we will provide tips and strategies for success in sales, networking, marketing, and business. We will be learning from real stories that will inspire you to unlock your potential, discover your talents, and develop the confidence to take action on your biggest dreams. We are focused on empowering women to connect their passions with their purpose to find true fulfillment. It's time to pop off, queens. Pop off, queens! Hi, it's Amanda O'Connell, your host of Talent Pop, and I am here today with a new guest. Her name is Adi, and she is a marketing executive. And we're going to chat about a few different topics, anywhere from your international experience, coming here, your professional marketing experience, as well as, building your family life and balancing everything. So thank you so much for being here. Welcome.
Thank you.
And I'm excited to kind of jump in and hear more about your journey. I guess, your journey of starting out in the marketing world, maybe not necessarily the marketing world, but how you kind of got to, VP level and becoming an executive, and any tips that you have along the way.
Of course. So I started kind of very, at the bottom of the bottom, I think, when, I think a lot of us, you finish school, and in my situation in Israel, you go to the army, and I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew that I liked traveling. I knew that I liked to engage with people. I knew that I wanted my day to be different every day. Not in front of the computer all day long, but not on airplanes all day long. And so, of course, and then there was this kind of high-tech boom, and I said, I should probably be in high-tech. So I went to work for a startup, and it was an e-commerce startup, and I was a receptionist. And I remember my mom said, why did we pay for college and you're just a receptionist? What's wrong with you? Because you're serving coffee and tea for everyone and, organizing meetings. Yeah. But it gave me a fantastic opportunity to get some insight and to see what the customer service people are doing and what the sales people are doing, what the, computer people doing, technology, product, all that kind of stuff. And finally, I decided that I'm very interested in learning more about marketing. And the cool thing about startup is they need everybody.
Yep. All the
and
help.
So I had a fantastic CEO, and he sat with me and taught me a few things, and that's how I kind of moved up and traveled a little bit, and
that's great.
Learned different aspects of marketing, PR, events. Emails, channels, all that kind of stuff.
And this was in the U.S.?
No, I started in Israel.
Okay.
Yeah. And I moved to London in 2005. And I moved to a bigger company. So from small companies in Israel, I moved to a bigger company in London. I still remember my first day. I was shaking. My heart was just like, I could hear my heart pumping, because I kind of felt the imposter syndrome all through and through, because, who am I? This little kid from Israel who doesn't, from a small country, who doesn't know anything. And, I interviewed with this large company. They brought me in. They sponsored my visa before I even arrived. In London, they have a different system than in the U.S. And we came in to London with like 8 suitcases. We were still kind of stuck in this hotel. And I pulled, what I wanted to wear.
Yeah.
And I was just super
Were you
scared.
living like in the hotel? Or?
For 2 weeks. For the first 2 weeks. And then we moved, but... It was very stressful. English wasn't my first language. Yeah. I was just scared about culture. I was scared. And of course, it was the first day. It was Friday, and they took me to the pub. When you come back, I just couldn't really work. But I learned. And I got into it. And so that was kind of a product marketing role, which I really enjoyed. Wow. And then in 2008, had another opportunity and moved to Boston in the pandemic time. So not pandemic time. Sorry, it was not. But it was a month after Lehman Brothers went belly up. Oh. So it was 2008.
So this is the economic downturn,
the
pretty much. Yep, I remember that.
And left a job in London, moved to Boston with a 2-year-old. I had the first kid there.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, in London. And my ex was in academia, so there was a lot, I was the breadwinner. And I was in fintech, and Lehman Brothers went belly up. And it was only that industry that I was targeting, that I had experience in. And I remember that moment because I said to myself, Adi, this is the time to prove to yourself that you are a true marketeer, because you are the product. Your resume is your data sheet or your collateral, your marketing collateral, channels or LinkedIn, networking event. And oh, by the way, this is a marketing campaign with zero budget against it. Now let's do it.
That is a challenge.
It's a challenge.
Wow.
But I was very proud. After 2-3 months, I had 2 contracts, and I was able to choose, and with a lot of hard work and a lot of tears.
That must have been stressful too, because I can't even. I mean, I guess I can imagine. When we started our business, I had young children. I had basically two little kids, but that is stressful because 2 years old, so young. You must have had support, help, or nanny, or
nothing.
How did you do this?
You just do it, right? You first of all, you just do it.
Yes.
But the second, at that time, I had we paid a little bit to daycare. I always say I'm a terrible mom. My kids went to daycare at a young age. But I don't think, one of them is celebrating her 16th birthday this weekend.
Oh, my goodness.
The other one is at 11, and there's this notion that when you have the kids, if you don't stay... us women, we criticize ourselves too much, I think.
We overthink a lot, I think.
We overthink a lot, and, if I don't stay with them for a year or two, I'm probably... making them terrible kids. They're going to be awful. They will end up in jail or something.
Yeah, that's where the mind goes. I understand.
Right? No, she's fine. She's great, even. She's a happy girl, 2 of them. And I went to, she did a few hours there, and then you just juggle and you make it happen.
Yeah.
And for me, at least, I felt... that it worked for me. I felt that I needed that time at work, that feedback from work, that feeling that I'm good at something other than the house and the work.
Yeah, definitely.
And I wouldn't do it any other way. It wasn't easy, but I would do it any other way.
Yeah, it's important, I think, to speak to that. I think there's a lot of women who want both, and they're questioning, can I do that? How is that possible? And it's important because I remember being in that position, knowing, like, I always knew in the back of my mind, I always wanted a family, I always wanted kids, but I also was going to college and having a career, and you have, like, in a sense, that pressure too, because you want that path, but it's also like you want to be successful, and you want to make sure you can put yourself in a position to advance in your career. And I guess, do you have advice for women who, clearly you've worked your way up? Yeah, I guess just advice as to how you were able to do that. Like, maybe there were, like you were saying, kind of being observing and paying attention to what's going on in the organization. Like, any tips you have?
It's funny because I think I made a ton of mistakes. So maybe I can share something, things that I've done that I would do differently if it was today. Because I remember when I was younger and the kids were younger, and, there were days that I got up and I was a zombie at work, and I had bosses that didn't really have any empathy. And it was pre-pandemic, so you had to drive to work.
Yeah, commuting, yes, I remember.
Different times, and I had a lot of criticism towards myself. I, didn't cut myself any slack.
Yeah, because you want to be so presentable, and you know that you're capable of that, but you're also, like, you have the home life and you have the kids, and you're exhausted, you're up late, you're trying to be, I get it.
And I think that if I would do it today, and the way I treat other women in my team today is do you know what? Excuse my language. Fuck it. Right? Today you're going to be with no makeup. Today you're going to just wear your whatever jeans. Today you're going to be tired. Today you're going to put 2 hours in your calendar. You're going to go get some sleep or get, relaxed a little bit and do nothing because it will help you. And I always tell the women in my team, if you need to take today off, take the day off.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to report on it because I know that I trust these women that they are working harder than anybody else. And so I don't need to know, the hour, the time, the minute where you are. I trust you. And I know that you're up at 2 a.m. anyway. Yeah. Probably do some work then if you need to. So
I think it's these women that need to give themselves grace because I have to talk to myself and say, because like you said, we are so hard on ourselves because we are intrinsically motivated. We want to be successful. We are trying to build something for our families, for our future. We want to inspire other women. So I think like that concept of like telling yourself it's okay to wear no makeup, to do these things because it's like you're surviving.
Yeah.
You're doing what you need to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important mindset is like that's okay. And especially in this new age of like digital media and Instagram and everything else that need to like be perfect and have that image, it's just like that's another whole can of worms. And it's like it's so refreshing to hear that and I remember like just even dropping my kids off at school and hearing other parents, like one of the children said to their father, like, why do we always have to be late? And I'm like, I'm not the only one. I was like, I looked back at the dad and I was just like, you know what? Like we're in this together.
Yes.
Like we are all dealing with this and it's okay.
Absolutely.
And we will be successful as long as we're willing to kind of push through and give ourselves that grace to move forward. But
absolutely. It's definitely something that I've learned over the years. And I think that when I was younger, I was harsher.
Yes.
If there is any advice, is just but it's hard because sometimes you have a boss who's harsher towards you.
True. Yeah.
But then you know what? Learn to say no, or maybe choose a different boss for yourself because you deserve it.
Exactly.
Because if you have somebody who does not understand, does not have empathy, maybe less mature, hasn't gone through what you've gone through, maybe it's not the right place for you. You know, and you don't have to fight it.
And that's so okay much. Too. And it's like it's like make a decision and own that decision, and that's okay. You're gonna find your way. And I think when we're young, we don't know the outcome. We don't have the experience, so we're more nervous, I think, to make decisions because we're like so concerned with the outcome. Whereas I think as we get older, we know things are gonna work out, and it's like our kids are like growing up. They're fine. They're functioning. Like they're doing well, and it's like, okay, that's a relief. So we're doing something right, and it may not be perfect.
Yeah,
and it's
definitely not perfect.
It's definitely not perfect.
I am putting some money on the side for therapy for them. I know.
Let's dive into that a little bit. So this whole concept of you build high performing teams. I love that you are so sensitive to their needs and. Yeah, how do you tie in, I guess, the mentorship and the way that you build teams? Do you have advice for folks that may be looking to build teams and maybe tying in your experience with?
So I grew up in a highly dysfunctional family, and I started therapy the minute I could afford it to make my life better, be a better mom, a parent to my kids, and solve some of my demons from the past. And through that process, I learned a lot. I learned to forgive myself, but then also forgive others for not being perfect, for not being exactly whatever we think they need to be, and stuff like that. Yeah. And I find myself, when I build teams, I think about it in kind of building a family, a functional family. Bringing talent, of course, when you build a team, you need to think about, can they do video in the best way? Can they do SEO in the best way? Yeah. First of all, there's the skill, of course. But then you also need to think about, does this person should work well with that person? How is the collaboration going to look like? Is this a good fit? But also, how can I make them successful? Can I meet them where they need me to meet them? Because there's a lot of very skilled, smart people. But, some of them, I had in my team, for example, recently, somebody who super talented, super duper talented, but he was struggling. He was just struggling. And I realized he was struggling because he needed more framework. He needed to know when something needs to be delivered, at what time, deadlines. With whom, exactly. And I'm a very kind of open-ended kind of person, but that's not a problem. I was like, let's go to Asana, let's build this task board, let's put it all together for you. Does that work better? And then I had another person who was so independent, just ran, and for her it was just, checking in once a week, talking about family, talking about the dogs, talking whatever that may be, right? But in my mind, the first thing that I'm thinking about is, or I'm telling my team is, how can I help you? How can I make your work better, easier, faster? And that's all about understanding what they need from me. And it could be about the way they work. It could also be about OKRs and goals and setting up goals and setting them for success. So many times, the company will have, a general goal. I will take, I'll create the marketing goal as a subset of that. But as another subset of that, I'll create individual goals. And so as an individual, you have something that you own and you feel that you are responsible for and you can be proud of and present and own. And I think even if it's just you and another person, there's something, and you feel like you're set up for success. You've got something that you own as well. And I think that works very well.
Yeah, no, that's such great advice. It's definitely challenging, I think, like building teams, like you said. Like, I think it's great that you take that, what I was thinking in my mind was that servant leadership approach. I love that. I love, there's so many, there's a lot of leaders out there who are in these executive positions and they're just kind of like barking orders and, do this, do that. And it's like, if you don't know or uncover some of this other stuff, you can't help them and they can't help you. So it's just like butting head, and then it's, there's kind of bad feelings in there. And so I think it's such a good approach. And I love that you said that, because I think it's so important for, like, not everyone's cut out to be like in leadership. And I think if we can change our mindset to more of that approach, we can help others, and it will in turn help the business. So I love that.
Yeah, I always like to bring smarter people than me to my team, and then if I don't serve them, if I tell them what to do, then I'm not getting any value.
Absolutely.
So I'd rather talk about where the business needs to be, and then ask for their advice on this work as a team, and they always have better ideas than me.
Yes, and then you can collaborate and learn, and then you're learning and they're learning, and they appreciate that their voice is heard, and that, and you just see things kind of magically coming together, although it's not always easy. I'm sure you've had plenty of challenges, and just, I think running teams is incredibly challenging. Is there anything that comes to mind that's, I don't know, maybe mistakes or whatever that you feel like you've learned from in terms of like building teams, or maybe something didn't go the way that you had wanted it to go? Or
changes are always difficult to manage. Somebody who is ending up not being the best fit. I always want to help them out and, participate and take part in them finding another path for themselves. Because I feel responsible.
Definitely.
And there's always stuff like that are happening. It's part of life. And certainly I've been in startups for quite a few years, definitely in startups, but also in large companies.
So is it that you're seeing that folks, like, when you bring in folks, you kind of think they're going to be the right fit and they may not, whether it's, I don't know, personality, not quite the right fit, or maybe they're just not cut out to, like, be in that sort of environment? Like, I guess, what have you seen that's been challenging for you, and that maybe you had to go a different direction, or, maybe somebody left or whatever that may be, that,
So sometimes you inherit a person that was positioned for failure, unfortunately, not positioned in the right place, and it just doesn't fit anymore, and they're very, very frustrated, and you feel that whatever you do, it's not going to fix it. Yeah. It's kind of too late. So, I'm all about, in this position, it's about helping them grow into the next level or career path or whatever that may be. Yep. Sometimes, especially in startups, the changes are so big that literally some people were interviewed to one position and the position has changed 180
dramatically. Yeah.
And that's just not fair, but it happens. It's part of the risk that you take, and then that can happen too. So changes are normally, I don't think I've ever brought somebody and all of a sudden they became a no fit. I usually, I think I'm doing a good job with, judging character and in the interview process. But just changes can happen. And that's kind of...
Yeah, that's hard. But I think it's important to address, I guess. And in terms of, teams that you have built, what do you look for? Like, what you mentioned character, you mentioned, I'm sure it's skills, right? We was talking about, that's kind of easy to look for on a resume, but what are some other things that you look for when you're building teams?
I look for people who are way smarter than me. So when I interview, I usually ask people to look at our, because it's marketing, our digital presence, and tell me what they think. And I'm looking for those people who thought about stuff that I haven't thought about, right? And go kind of crazy and a little bit different, and a little bit wacky. Yeah. Because I'm in marketing, and in marketing you have to be super innovative, and what you've done yesterday may no longer be relevant for tomorrow. Yeah, that's so true. And you have to be able to learn new technologies and new things every day. So I'm looking for these people who are kind of super smart, and have creative ideas that are different. If you tell me, everything looks fantastic, I'm already bored. Yep. If you tell me something that is already there and I know and everybody else knows, it's a little bit boring. And that's what I like. So smart people, fun people,
thinking outside the box a little bit.
Thinking outside the box, a little bit wacky. A lot of fun too, a lot of sense of humor and fun, because life can be very difficult at times. And so it's good to be able to laugh at yourself, laugh at others, be fun, and just easy. And because there will be time when you're going to be broken a little bit, or I'm going to be broken a little bit, and we can trust each other to kind of get through that as well.
Definitely. And I've been reading a lot about this too, and I don't know if you like personal development books, but I'm very into those. And it's just talking about, building a team, and it's like you said, building your family. And I think that's what makes the changes sometimes so hard too, because and especially in a startup, like you said, it feels it's a family. You're doing so much work together all the time, and it's like you're trying to grow, and you know what I mean? And I can relate to so much of what you were saying with building that. So it definitely brings its challenges. And then, also too, I think I'd love to kind of touch on your international experience and what that's been like, just the transition and living in different places, and how you've been able to kind of make that all work. And then also that your kids are, I guess they're American.
They are Americans, yeah. Well, one of them was born in London. One of them was born here in Boston.
Oh, wow.
And, when you have kids... So I grew up in Israel, speaking Hebrew. My ex is Israeli as well, speaks Hebrew. And, we have two girls that were kind of born here. They understand the culture here, they are more American than Israel. They have two passports, but they're more American than Israelis. And I think in the first few years, when we came back to Israel, it still felt like I was kind of a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And I think over the years, I realized that I have to kind of get comfortable with the very uncomfortable feeling that I'm not American and I'm not Israeli anymore. I'm somewhere in between. I grew up in Israel, and so I know a lot of the music and the TV and a lot of that, but I haven't been there for 20 years. I haven't lived it. So I don't know what happened in terms of entertainment and all that kind of stuff, music. I don't know it at all. I have been living here for 20 years, but I didn't grow up here. I wasn't born here.
Yeah.
And so I've learned a lot. Thanksgiving, for example, was the first time I've ever done it. It was here, right? I didn't know much about it.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot about it, but I didn't experience it as a kid.
Yeah.
And then I look at my kids, and they feel very comfortable. They know they are American. They speak Hebrew, but they speak Hebrew in an American accent. So if you can imagine your kid speaking English in a Russian accent to you, right? It's a bit strange.
Yeah.
It's a bit strange. Wow.
That is funny.
But so it's uncomfortable. It's definitely uncomfortable, but you get comfortable with it. And I think the most important thing that I would say is if you're an international person coming into this country, or any country, I've seen a lot of people who say, I'm going to come in for 2 years and then I'm going to leave. And what end up happening is they kind of living on suitcases, if you like. Everything is still kind of packed. They don't feel comfortable. They don't let themselves feel comfortable. And it's, I feel that way you're kind of missing out on opportunities to,
grow yourself
and take opportunities that this country can offer you that other places can't. Open yourself up to other people, to other cultures, so many things. And I think it's a shame. So I unpacked my suitcases quickly.
Maybe like people are focused on like the destination of I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do this, instead of like really embracing the journey. Yeah. And like, because it's true. I mean, if you're like, oh, I'm going to go to this, well, it reminds me of when we went to Italy, and it was like, okay, we're going to like do this. We're going to go on a wine tour and we're going to do this. But like all of our plans went out the window, but we ended up meeting like this Italian family and like went into their home, and they gave us, their food, and like, it was just, and we met their grandparents. It was just so funny. And it was like, I could never have planned like a better experience. Like it was like such a genuine, just experience that I'll never forget.
Absolutely.
And you can't plan those things. And it's like sometimes when we're so focused on the destination, we forget to experience that journey. And that's the journey that makes us grow and gives us the best memories. And
exactly. Exactly.
Unforgettable experiences.
I completely agree. Just open yourself and embrace whatever situation and whatever situation that presents itself to you. Go for it and enjoy it. I've tried to do that and worked pretty well, I think.
Yeah, and I love what you said about being comfortable with being uncomfortable. That is like one of my favorite quotes, and I feel like through your experiences, right? I think it's built a lot of resilience. And I think in this day and age, folks kind of have to be resilient. We have been through the pandemic, through all these things. And I think that resilience is kind of like what we need to get to that next level. And it's like if folks want to level up in their lives, I think that resilience piece is like one of the most important things. And, it sounds like through your experiences, that's something that you have and you've been able to do really well.
Yeah, it's trying to have fun, right?
Definitely.
That's what it's about.
Exactly. Yeah, seeing the positives and making the most of it. Well, that's amazing.
Thank you.
I appreciate everything. This has been so insightful and just interesting and fun, and I really appreciate you. So thank you.
Thank you
So much for being on the
fun.
podcast. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, we are continuing to inspire women. I love having guests like this on our podcast. So we just hope you guys can continue to join us and listen in. And it's time to pop up, queens.